And now, a thought from man. Okay, anyone that was saying the new She-Ra and the Princesses of Power series was gonna suck was just plain wrong. This show is pretty damn good. I find the complaints pretty stupid since everything that was being shown beforehand wasn't even looking too bad. It had a lot of promise, and to be honest, it lives up to it. It looked like it was gonna be another great modern adventure series that falls in with other great reboot series of today. Honestly, the vitriol against this series was just some butthurt fanboys who were mad they don't have their fat material from the 80s and just wanted to cry SJW because they're just so pathetic and can't accept change. Granted, they'll probably make fat material out of this series anyway.
That's disgusting.
I'm sure there were some legit criticisms for the show, but the most prominent ones were just so dumb because this show is good.
This is serious.
The series is a reboot of the old She-Ra series from the 80s, which was a spin-off of the He-Man series. Kinda weird how the spin-off gets a series before the original, but then again, He-Man got rebooted twice, so I guess it makes sense. The main premise of this reboot is about a teenage girl who finds a magic sword that transforms her into a legendary warrior named She-Ra and must lead a rebellion to free her home called Etheria from an army she was once a part of, controlled by a villain named Hordak, and it's created by Noelle Stevenson, who's written for a plethora of good shows like Big Hero 6, the series, the new DuckTales, Wander Over Yonder, and Bravest Warriors, and so on and so forth. So she has some clear-cut experience in this field. It plays as a pretty good action-adventure series. You get good drama, characterization through the whole show. It's just very well made and fun to boot.
I know.
The series has a major focus on characters here. From the heroes to the villains, all the characters are pretty engaging and endearing for the most part, and have some good development throughout. You have Adora, aka She-Ra, who strives to be the best hero of Etheria and find out the secrets of her past. She doesn't know the ways of the world since she's only known the ways of the Hordak army known as the Horde. She has a pretty engaging story since she was working for the bad guys but then defects after learning that she's been fed lies and now fights for what's right. Usually that happens with a villain character later in the series, but they start off with that, which I think is pretty nice to see.
I want to figure out what's happening to me, and if I go back to the Fright Zone, then I'll never know. I never knew where I came from or who my family was. Shadow Weaver said it didn't matter who I was before, that I was nothing before Hordak took me in. There's always been a part of me that I just don't know anything about, and in all of this, it feels familiar somehow. I don't know how else to explain it.
I enjoy how they don't make her a total stick in the mud. She can have fun from time to time, even though she's angry about being raised on lies. She has a nice transition into being a hero. She acts like a child being taken to Disneyland for the first time when she starts learning more about the world. You also got Bo and Glimmer, who are Adora's new group of friends. They do well in helping Adora transition into her new life. They also act as a good comic relief and add that sense of friendship and support for Adora.
Best friend squad!
You also got Queen Angela, who is Glimmer's mother. She acts pretty protective of her daughter and Kingdom since she was responsible for getting her husband killed in an attack she ordered, so you find yourself sympathizing with her and wanting to make sure everyone is safe.
I ordered the battle your father perished in. I've never forgiven myself.
I didn't know that.
Yes, well, you never talk to me.
On the villain side of things, there's Catra, who I guarantee you'll have to look her up with safe search on. Boy, the internet is gonna have fun with her.
No!
She basically was Adora's best friend in the Horde. She's the rebel, which is funny considering Adora rebelled first, but she mostly just plays by her own rules. She's actually aware of how bad Hordak's forces are and the brainwashing, and she'd rather continue fighting against the forces of good. The personal tragedy between her and Adora is pretty gripping. Seeing these best friends have to give up on each other creates a good sense of drama.
You know, it all makes sense now. You've always been the one holding me back. You wanted me to think I needed you. You wanted me to feel weak. Every hero needs a sidekick, right?
Catra, no, that's not how it was.
The
sad thing is, I've spent all this time hoping you'd come back to the Horde, when really you leaving was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Catra even has her own sort of group of friends with Scorpia and Entrapta. They're both princesses who defected to the Horde since they didn't feel like they fit in. They work as good comic relief and major help to Catra and her cause.
Wow!
There's also Shadow Weaver, who is like the second in command of the Hordak army. She has this crazy obsession with wanting Adora to come back to the Horde so much that it played into Adora and Catra having tension between them as kids.
You have never been anything more than a nuisance to me. I've kept you around this long because Adora was fond of you, but if you ever do anything to jeopardize her future, I will dispose of you myself. Do you understand?
Please stop!
There's also Hordak, who sadly is sidelined in this series. We don't really get to see a lot of him, only when he's punishing Shadow Weaver for her insolence. Maybe next season they'll focus more on him, but sadly for now, he's just kind of there. He's just more of the big bad background villain. We know he's supposed to be important, but for now, he's just gonna kind of sit to the side and let the minions do all the work. Which is like, okay, hopefully next season they actually give him something to actually do. But for now, we just gotta go with what we got.
Very well.
This honestly is a great cast of characters. Each one manages to grab a hold of your attention and keep you wanting to see how things are gonna play out for them. I gotta give credit to the series for having such engaging characters and focusing so heavily on them. So really, kudos to this series and kudos to the creative team behind it.
Thank you.
The animation is very bright and colorful, which can call for some amazing background work and unique environments. But in terms of the characters, there's a bit of weirdness going on, with like the fact that all the characters have this odd shading going on with their faces for some reason. So it makes it seem like they're blushing. I don't know, maybe they're embarrassed by their outfits, which I mean, could you blame them? And they all honestly are a little too bright. They seem too saturated with color that they stand out more than they need to, even though the backgrounds are already so colorful. It's not too bad, in fact you kinda get used to it as you watch, but it's definitely something you're probably gonna notice and it's probably gonna be hitting you in the back of your head as you keep watching. So that's just something you might notice. Maybe by next season they'll kind of tone it down a bit, but for the first season, yeah, there's just kind of that one little problem going on with it.
Why did I do that?
This series falls in with the rest of the good 80s property reboots. You have good characters with great development throughout, very pleasant animation for the most part, just needs to tone down the color a bit. Some characters could use some fleshing out, but it's only the first season, so they got some time. It works without having to watch the original series, which is always good for the uninitiated. It's just an outright good action-adventure series that stands on its own as good reboots should. But that's just a thought.